overflow. And next time I come, there will be no sitting place here, no empty chairs. And God will grant you all the blessings and all the means and power of the Holy Spirit that you're really, I hope and pray that next generation of worshipers and leaders will be here. Let's have I want to share with you a verse. My title, can you see me from where you are? Okay. So let's go back to the title. Yeah, the third best decision. And when you think about third best decision, you're kind of wondering, then what is the first and second? So you have to stay awake to find out what it is. Okay. So again, my name is Steve Morrison. So pleased to be here. I give all the praise to God. Thank you. So let's go to let me kind of move this out of the way. Maybe this way. Maybe here. Yeah. Can you see it? Okay. So I want to share with you the verse found in Psalm 116, verse 12 to 14. What shall how can I repay the Lord for all his goodness to me? I will lift up the cup of salvation and call on the name of the Lord. I will fulfill my vows to the Lord in the presence of all his people. And there's really nothing that I can do to repay. David questions himself by saying that what can I do to repay for his kindness? And he knows, and I know, I think all of you know, that there's no way that we can ever repay the Lord for all his goodness to us. All I can do personally is that I stand before you folks and give praise to God and give through my testimony. Next. So I want to also point out a very special verse that has been a real focus in my life as well. And this verse you all know, Matthew 6:33. 다 같이, can we all read together? But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given you as well. So let me put this out of the way. Thank you. I can see it now. So, next chart. I want to show you my family. We are a large family, as you can see, 7 of us, 5 kids. Now, I'm going to explain to you from left to right. Left is Joseph. He's going to be turning 29 because that's a long ways down. Okay, so 29 in tomorrow or next day, on 31st. So I got to send him a cutoff and a gift. Helen, she's our firstborn. Oh, Joseph, we adopted when he was 3. And Helen, she was biologically born. She's also 29. She passed her birthday. And the one in white, her name is Jane. She is 21 years old at USC, studying business. And there's me and my wife, and Kay. She is working at a startup company, making lots of money. She's 27. She's going to be 27. And on the right is the tall guy. We adopted him when he was 14. And he's very smart, studying computer science in the economy at University of Illinois, Champaign. And so we're one big family. And we had a big gathering about a month ago for my birthday. So I was really, really blessed. I won't tell you how old I am. Next, my parents. See how lovely they are. This was taken many, many years ago during their 50th wedding anniversary. And I looked much younger there. Next one, our wedding. My beautiful wife over there, she's aged a bit and with glasses, but I wasn't too bad looking either, was I? Next. Okay, so we had a family gathering for my mother's 90th birthday. And so on the left is my side of the family with the in-laws as well. And also on the right was is the picture of the original biological sibling plus two guys. The guy in the middle and me on the left are two adopted. So they had one boy and two daughters by birth, and they adopted me and this James, who is a Amerasian. Now you look at my brothers; they look much older than me, right? So anyway, we're just one happy big family, and we're so blessed. And my two older sisters at the bottom. Next. So I want to tell you about the work that I did in my 42 years at the aerospace industry in the U.S. My 20 years before I retired, I spent my time working, researching, developing GPS-3 satellites. Next. This is like when SBS did a documentary story on me, some of the work images. Next. History of GPS. It really began, sending GPS-1 satellites in 1978, and it fully formed a constellation in 1997, when people started using it. So GPS history is not really that long. And then these satellites, when they orbit the Earth, they wear out, the batteries go out, propellants wear out. Sometimes it gets broken, sometimes hit by a small meteor so that damages them. So you need to periodically send in replacements. That's the 2RM, 2Rs and 2RM. They all went up, and GPS-2F, I believe all went up as well. And GPS-3 is the next generation GPS satellite that I worked on for 20 years. So I'm really, really very proud of my work in GPS. And you folks, when you're using smartphone on your GPS and auto navigation to drive somewhere, just remember your friend Steve Morrison had his fingerprints on it. I really thank God for the blessings that He has given in my life. Next. So I have a ministry called Mission to Promote Adoption of Kids, 한국 입양 홍보회. It was established in 1999 and expanded to Korea to promote domestic Korean adoption and to promote adoption by Korean Americans. And so to bring about positive changes in Korean adoption culture, and also to speak on behalf of many children that don't have homes. Next. So out of the effort, we had a lot of Korean nationals living here, not overseas, living here, starting to adopt. And we had like conferences. Look at all these adoptive parents. So Korean national do adopt. It just, there needs to be more, because there are always more children. And so we made great progress over past, 27 years. And God has called me to that ministry while working as an aerospace engineer. Next. So we have regional groups within Korea in all these places. We're so grateful. And in the US, we have 6 groups. So next. And this is an adoption picnic in the US. And thankfully, among all those spaces, we had Shinera 집사님 with us. And she is our spokesperson. Next. And I had established a good relationship with Pastor Lee of the Baby Box when we worked together for the cause of homeless children that are being given up for adoption or, sometimes in English language abandoned at the Baby Box. But then Pastor Lee started using different language, that is, babies that have been kept by unwed mothers. And I think that's a better description. He's a great man of God. Really, really, I had a meeting with him. I already met with him twice this trip. Next. We had an orphan ministry in China, especially we reached out to little children with the special needs to fix their physical condition by donating money to them. And also on the upper right, you see a group of kids, and these kids are all in a very unique orphanage. And what's so unique about this orphanage in China? They all have HIV positive. 그래서 we went there to support them, and I met those kids. I was so moved, and I was so blessed. The incredible thing is that these children, even though they have AIDS, positive disease, folks in the U.S., Christian families in the U.S., they still want to reach out to them and adopt them. Isn't that something? Have you ever seen somebody adopt an HIV positive kid? And what's even more shocking is that these parents that are adopting, they have their own biological children, same age as them. Isn't that incredible? I thought I was a nice guy. I thought I was a loving guy. But once I heard about these parents reaching out and adopting these children. Wow, they are in different dimension of love, much higher than me. I was so moved. And you can say a lot of things good things about the U.S. and policies and government, and you kind of wonder why God still blesses the U.S. I believe He blesses because people like them. Okay, next. And we also have a mentor-tutor ministry for the orphans that are here. So each year we raise fundraising. We raise anywhere from $350,000 to $400,000 each year, and we support 7 orphanages with over 100 kids that receive one-on-one mentor-tutor service, as they lack so much academic progress because they're not stimulated early on to study, to put importance on academic success. And many of them fail, and they age out without proper education. So we want to prevent that. So that's our ministry, one of our ministry. Next. And we also have MPEC English Bible Camp, where we have like 20 different volunteers that come here each summer. And we minister to the adoptive kids, and also at 2 orphanages each year. So we have a great ministry going on as well. It's like a VBS, but it's in English. Next. This is very special place, unforgettable place. I was born in Gangwon-do, Mukho, and at one time, and I'll share with you what happened to our family. Our family got broken apart, and I visited this bridge and discovered that's the place where the red arrow is. This is the place I lived, homeless. Yeah. Can you imagine a suited man like this? having lived in that, under that bridge one time when he was 5 years old. And so it's amazing. A year later, next chart, I took my two daughters there, and they were kind of overcome by what they saw at that bridge. It's one of those visits that's hard to place in right words. Next. If you want to know more about Steve Morrison, go to YouTube, look for 새롭게 하소서 and 2023 Daniel 기도회. If you know Korean, it's all Korean. So if you can't speak Korean or understand Korean, it's probably no use. Next. I think this is it. Okay, my PowerPoint presentation chart ends here. Thank you. You may close, yeah. So my earliest memory, I remember living in Gangwon-do province at Mukho. Have you ever been to Mukho, Gangwon-do province? Okay. There's a train station in Mukho, and I lived under the bridge next to the train station. And I once had a father and mother, myself and also my younger brother. I must have been around 5 years old. My younger brother about 3.5, 4. And we lived as a family. And, I remember Gangwon-do being so beautiful. And in the spring, about maybe a little later than this one, I would go up to the hills and a lot of jindale, azalea. Flowers just bloom all over. I remember eating those flowers as well. And I would go down to the mountain, to the town, and I would see a whole bunch of squids that are flattened and drying under the sun. And these days, I went there like at 23, I hardly saw that anymore. So 오징어 must be really becoming rarity, maybe being caught somewhere else. And Gangwon-do was very beautiful. In the morning, I would see sunshine, and in Dongbada, and I would see lots of boats on the ocean, big and small. And it was just a very tranquil, peaceful scene, not too long after the Korean War. But my family was not tranquil. I had a father and then mother and my younger brother and me. It was a very volatile and very abusive situation. And I remember my father always coming home drunk, red-faced, and he would throw fits, and my mother abused her, hit her, and hit us as well. So he did not portray a good father, role model in me at all. Instead, I hated him. I despised him, especially when he abused my mother. I remember one night when he came with a red-faced, drunk so hard, and he started hitting my mother in front of us boys. And we were so scared. And my mother, when she had a chance, she took off and ran out of the house. And after that, she never came home. So I thought maybe he would turn to us and abuse us, but he smoked and drank some more, and he slept. So that was the environment that we lived under. And also, I don't know how much later, but weeks and months, I don't remember. I was told that my father was arrested by police and he was thrown into jail. So with that news, we went to the police station, and officer said, kindly turned us away, and we couldn't see the father. And so that was the last time I saw my father. Many, many years later, I heard the news that they both passed away. But just like you saw on the PowerPoint chart, the bridge where I stayed, we lived there for a while. And one day, a lady selling crab, steamed crab, decided to, she used to be very nice to us. She would give us like free crabs, and we'd be eating that. So, I still remember how delicious, those crabs were. And that's why I still like crabs a lot. And this lady, she decided to take my brother home with her. So she started to buying new clothes for him to wear. And I watched in envy, thinking, what about me? So I asked the lady, aren't you going to take me home also? And then she said, I cannot take you because of your leg. One leg. I have one handicapped leg. So I was kind of disappointed and rejected. But then I also understood that my brother would no longer be hungry and that he would have a place to stay and live instead of under the bridge like I was. But a few days later, a gentleman found me, realized that I was an orphan, and he took me and admitted to an orphanage in I think close to Mukko or somewhere close by. And then there, 원장님 said that you need to be transferred to Holt Orphanage where you can get operation on your leg. So I was transferred to Holt Orphanage. There I met Harry Holt, 할아버지. We call him Holt 할아버지, and Grandpa Holt. And while I was there, I was very comfortable, and I was starting feeling happy, and I was admitted when I was 6 years old, and grew up healthy, and had lots of friends in orphanage, and at age 9, 전도사님 came to our orphanage, gave a gospel, and I accepted Lord Jesus into my heart, like a childlike faith. And so I lived in the orphanage for 8 long years. And then I got a news that a family in the U.S. was wanting to adopt me. And that family already adopted another boy who was Emiratian. So that he became 4th child, and I was the 5th child. And the way that happened was that one day in around October or November, my mother and father sat down together after feeding the kids, and then they were all going to sleep, and they both stayed together at the kitchen table and started talking about this thing. And that was, 여보, what can we give God for this year's Christmas as a gift? So they discussed this and that, and I thought maybe you would think that they want to give some money to the church and things like that, but they had a discussion and they decided to adopt another child. So every 2 months, Holt would send like a newsletter to all the supporters and adopted parents. And at the back of the newsletter, there will be a series of pictures of children, and with the title, Children That Need Homes. And there were like 30 or so children, and I was one of the kids. I was the oldest. I was just turning 13, and it had a description of very sincere, nice boy. But he's a Christian, and also, but he has a bad leg, and but he will be turning 14. At that time, if you turn 14, adoption was not possible. So I don't know what the reason was, but anyway, my father looked at that photo and description, and recommended to my mother, what about this boy? And she looked at it and she said, oh no, he's too big, too old. What about this boy, 9 years old? And my father said, no, I think he's my son. And my mother got worried and she raised an age. How about this boy? He's 10 years old. And my father, I really believe this boy is my son. I want to adopt him. And my mother got worried. She raised another age, 11-year-old. And my father said, no, I know this is my son. And so she began to really worry and decided to take that photo to James, the Emerasian boy, who used to live with me at Holt Orphanage. And he was younger, and he knew me. And my mother showed him, your dad is insisting on this boy. What do you know about this boy? And my brother James said, 2 words, get him. So it was decided then that I was actually their gifts to God by adopting me. And thousands of miles away on that silent night, I was chosen to be a son to my dad. Now the thing is that my father's, his personality is very, very humble and gentle. And my mother usually wants something and he would always yield, 양보. And all the decisions, where they go and travel, what they buy, what they eat, my mother decides it. And even though my father has an opinion of his own, he lets her have it. Except this one time, deciding who's going to be adopted. My father did not yield. And I so appreciate that. And I really believe God had purpose in having him insisting on this boy. And so I was chosen, and rest is history. So I arrived in the U.S. By the time I arrived in the U.S., I was 14 years old. And, there were already 4 kids, right? And as I got up the car, I landed in Salt Lake City, Utah. Utah has a lot of Mormons. Majority of the religion there is Mormon. But thankfully, my parents, they were Southern Baptist and 남침례교였어요. And from the first day on, I sensed their love for me. But when I entered the house, I passed the kitchen, and on the counter was what looked like a 1 gallon of something. And I looked at it. It looks like kimchi, and yet it is not. It looked weird. So as I was looking at it, my mother came over and said, I made the kimchi for you. Now, she was Caucasian, complete Caucasian. And also, I was able to understand. I was in 8th grade in junior high, and English happened to be my favorite subject, and I did my best on that one. So I was able to converse to some degree. And she said that she made the kimchi. Now, what happened was that before I arrived, several months before, she happened to have a family trip to San Francisco, and there she happened to run into a Korean restaurant. And so they all went in there, ate rice and kimchi and other stuff for the first time ever. So out of that memory, my mother, just to make me comfortable, decided to make a kimchi. Wow. So can you imagine tasting beef stroganoff for the first time in your life and trying to imitate that on your own? And so how did she make it? So Koreans use Chinese cabbage, Korean cabbage, I'll say. But then they used the 양배추, like a Western cabbage. My mother also remember kimchi having like some spice and very sour tasting. So she didn't know how to make it sour, so she put vinegar in it. You know what kind of vinegar? Cider vinegar. The weird, very pungent smelling vinegar. Wow, that almost knocked me out. And then she also remembered, she didn't know to put garlic, so she put a whole bunch of diced onions. And she also didn't know how to make it spicy, so she didn't use red pepper, but she used a whole bunch of black pepper sprayed in there. Imagine the kimchi that she made. So I gave you the recipe. So tonight you go home and try to imitate, okay, how that tastes. It was a very, very weird tasting kimchi I've ever tasted. And, but I understood her intention. She really was trying hard to make me feel at home. And yeah, I remember that was a very good experience on my first day of arrival in the U.S. And my siblings, they would all gather. There were 4, and then me added, there were 5 of us. And we would sit around the living room, and they would teach me like a blackjack. You know, blackjack 알아요? You know blackjack? Like they put like a 21 in Las Vegas. You deal with you come with the 21, you win. You know, so they taught me how to play blackjack. And in addition, other board games, they taught me like Monopoly. I just wiped clean their real estate in the game. Yeah. And also they taught me how to play Life, Yahtzee, and all these Kerplunk old games. It was really good bonding time with them. And then suddenly I had a weird idea. And what that was, because on the way home, on the way from Korea to the United States, one of our caretaker women decided to give me a Bible to read. And then I also had souvenirs like rubber shoes, 고무신. Have you ever seen 고무신? Younger people, you're lucky that you didn't have to wear. So it wears out really quickly. It tears up so easily. And in the wintertime, it gets really cold because there's absolutely no, what do you call it? Something that would keep you warm. So also in the 가방 bag was my favorite card game that I played with my friends in Korea, and that was 화토. You know what 화토 is? 화토도 몰라서 어떻게 화토 is has a sinister connotation where it is used by adults for gambling. And so for younger people, it was like, no, don't even touch that, don't even play that. But we play that all the time in Korea behind, the adults. And anyway, it was really fun. I decided to my siblings, maybe I'll teach them card game because I had a deck of that as a souvenir. So I told them to sit down. I want to teach you Korean card game. So, they were all Caucasian, including my American boy brother. He looked more like a Caucasian, and I was the only Asian guy. And so I sat them all down and decided to teach them this. In this card game, you can only tell the numbers by the picture. So you have to memorize the numbers according to the picture. So this will be number 1, this will be 2, and this is 3, and then all the way up to 12. And if you have blue stripe, 3 of these in your hands, that's 청단, meaning 청단 한국말로 뭐라 그래요? Do you know? Anyway, that's 30 points. And if you have a red stripe also, that's 30 points. And oh boy, you have Chinese character with the 광 means 20 points. 여기 화투 치는 사람 없어요? Okay. You are so pure. You're so innocent. 근데 I taught them Korean card game, and they mastered it within a couple hours. And I was surprised that they would actually sit through and learn the Korean card game. And we would just play it hours and hours and hours. We all had so much fun. And I would go to school. I was more studious than all my siblings. And I would come home from school, have dinner, wash dishes, whatnot, and then I would go into my room to study. Especially my second sister, she would come around knocking on my door and say, "Steve, let's play Watto." So I would go out and play with them several hours more of the Korean card game. And it was such a enjoyable. I was feeling very happy, well accepted. And also another change that was taking place in me was that I was sort of like an average student in Korea. My worst subject was math. I got Fs on my math. But when it came to social studies, literature, and all that, I would just read once or twice, and I could remember most of the contents. And I would get decent grade on those. But math, man, I abhorred it because I couldn't understand. And I think because I had lacked the foundation, lacked the math education in earlier years. And then what happened was that I was studying, I left as 8th grader. I was admitted to an 8th grade in junior high in the US. And I was looking at the algebra, and I started suddenly understanding this concept. And all these equations and theories came to my mind. It's like, wow, I now understand. And there was nothing to this. So from then on, math became my favorite subject. I did my best. And so that gradually, just came into my heart, my mind, that I could also do this. And I don't know what happened. I think maybe the stability that I found in the family, the love and encouragement that I received, that may have contributed in my being able to understand something that was blocking me. But more than anything, I saw how my father and my mother, they got along so well. They loved so much. My father especially, because I was a guy, maybe I was looking to him like a role model. But then he was such a gentleman of gentlemen. Every day he would go to work and he would hug my mother in front of all the kids, 5 of us. And he would kiss her and saying, "Have a good day, honey." And then after the work, he would enter the house, always looking for my mother first. And sometimes she was still in the bathroom robe with her hair color still in hand. And she hasn't changed since the morning time because she had no business to go out anywhere on that day. And so he would find her and hug her and give her a kiss and say, "How was your day, honey?" So I looked at it and I was just not used to seeing such, action before me. And at first it was kind of weird to see, but then as the time went on, I realized how loving and great that this is. And so we would sit, during the mealtime, we would sit around and wait for everybody. You know what 각자 기도 is? It's self-prayer, right? We had no such thing in our home. We waited until everybody sat together and we would pray together. And that was such a big image that I always treasure. And they put such an impact in my life. Watching the reactions with my father and my mother and the way they loved one another, and it formed in me around when I was 15 years old. About a year after I got there, I began to form a vision or goal in my life. And I said, when I grow up, I want to be just like my daddy. And I want to marry a beautiful woman just like my mother. And adoption is such a great blessing. I will also adopt as well and give birth as well. So all the vision, all that desire and goal came to fruition many, many years ago. And I give all the credit to God for blessing my life. And so the uniqueness in our family, my current family with my children, is that all the boys, 2 sons and father, are adoptees. And all the girls are biological born. So that's kind of unique thing in our family. I watched my father. He was a man of full of love and integrity. He never. You can give a lot of speeches, lectures about your faith in God, how you should live, but he really lived his life. What he lived, what he preached, and he was a man of great integrity and character. He would never cheat on tax, and he would never take advantage of somebody. He was always compassionate and always very self-conscious of that he won't do anything bad to others. Very, very 양심적인, incredible father, and he became my role model. And like I said, when I started doing well in my math, my vision became a little bit different over the years, and decided, well, I always had an interest in space exploration. So where should I go for my college? And so I took SAT and all the college preparation, and I wanted to go to school where they generated more astronauts than any other school, and that was Purdue University. So I got accepted there and decided to go there. And our school prides in Neil Armstrong, and all the astronauts, about 25% of all the astronauts are from our school, related to high school. And I wanted to be an astronaut, but I also knew that I could never because of my leg. You have to be in perfect physical condition. So I gave up on that. However, I decided to remain in aerospace education to make satellites because I still loved it. And so I majored in aeronautical and astronautical engineering, more close to astronautical engineering from Purdue. And at the end of my graduation, even like 3 months before I graduated, most of these aerospace companies like Boeing, NASA, McDonnell Douglas, Lockheed Martin, all these companies came around scouting us because we're one of the very important engineering school. And so we were recruited and scouted by several companies, and questions among our peers, our graduating class, was that it wasn't whether you got employed or not. It was like, how many offers did you get? And so we were just sought after by all the corporations. And I decided to go to the corporation that gave me graduate engineering degrees, scholarship to go. So that's what I took. And our family was also, I had a lot of blessings, and one time, as I was working, this was before I got married, I thought about all my life and all the blessings and my parents that adopted me. I got to do something for them. So for a long time, my parents, especially my mother, she had a sister in Taiwan with her husband as serving as a missionary. For 30 years, they wanted to visit, but they spent money on me and four other kids. I had a ear problem. I had ear surgery and other complications. They spent on all of us. So they did not have money, did not have the time. And I decided, with the money that I saved, I want to send them to Taiwan. And so 30 years of her wish came true. And I purchased for them all the airline tickets, hotel reservations, in addition to visiting Taiwan and visiting her sister there. And then I also gave them additional trip to Hong Kong, Singapore, to Thailand, Bangkok. And on the way back, they would stop by Korea, see my orphanage as well. And then when they came back to the United States, they started bragging, whoever they met, this boy, Steve Morrison, this is our son. He sent us an East Asian trip, and we're so grateful. And they would brag. And that's when I realized, wow, they have done for me so much more. And yet, just because I did this little thing for them, they would be so grateful and acknowledge me. And I thought about, wouldn't that be like God's idea as well? For all the blessings that He does, and we serve Him with gladness and thankfulness, wouldn't God be pleased with us? So I think that's, heart of our parents also equates the heart of God. So I encourage you in your life, do something for God, and He will be greatly, appreciate you. Okay? But as I was living a happy life as a single, and then also working in the space industry, going to Yongnak Church. In LA, there's a Yongnak Church. And I was serving there, but there was a corner of my heart where I was kind of struggling. And that was, what about all the other children that need homes? So I had such a great burden in my heart. I grew up happy, and I was adopted, and I got educated, got a great job. But what about so many other children in Korea? So I had such a burden on them. And I asked God for years, God, why did you send me to this earth? What is your purpose in my life? Why was I born? And why did I have to go through all this trouble, early life, and all this struggle and pain, rejection, and then you bless me with adoption? What's the meaning in all this? I prayed for years for God's blessing, God's call, His purpose in my life. And that leads into discovering God's vision in my life. So, after many years of prayers and gomin, struggle, God answered my prayer. So, discovering vision. So, what is your vision? What is my vision? And God gave me my vision through MPAC, organization called MPAC. People think about vision, and I want to ask you, what do you think is vision? What is your vision? Jonathan Swift describes vision is the art of seeing things invisible. Very nice statement. Helen Keller, she even defines vision as seeing beyond physical limitations that you can see with your eyes, but you don't have heart to see something. You're just as bad as a blind person. Okay. Roosevelt Moss Cantor. A vision is not just a picture of what could be. It is an appeal to our better selves, a call to become something more. So there are a lot of people who define what vision is. And even a pastor, Willow Creek Church, what's his name? Bill Hybel. Yeah. He said vision is something that burns in your heart for a purpose, something like that. So there are a lot of definitions of vision around. However, the best vision statement, you know where that is found? It is so familiar by you. It is found this has got to be the best vision statement that you will ever find. It is in Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Our vision is not about going to school, what school we go to, what kind of job we have. These are all like a wheel, circumference of the wheel, who to marry, where to live, things like that. All those things are important. However, center of it all, the focal point, that's where God is. So our vision is about having vision, having God as our vision. Once we have that vision in our life, He's going to give all these things according to His will. Just like Pastor Elijah Han, his vision is to worship, to lead church here and serve as his servant, as a pastor. And just like your father, Pastor Hangil, such a great man of faith. So when we direct our focus, our primary vision should be God Himself. Then He will tell us in His time what our vision should be. Now, even if He doesn't tell us what our vision should be, we should still have Him as a vision in our life. So focus on God first in your life, and He will let us know what we should do in His time. And so that's what I discovered. And in my prayer, I asked God, what is your vision for me? And one day in 새벽 기도회, He spoke to my heart. You asked all these questions, Steve. What are you going to do? And you have been blessed through all this experience and adoption, and you live in a happy life. But what will you do for all those homeless children still without families in Korea? And that just hit my heart so hard. Once I discovered that, I resolved that there's nothing in the world that's going to stop me from doing this mission. I would even give my life for this purpose. It was so strong in me. And something like that I hope will happen to you as well. But you really need to seek God first. Have Him as your vision. So the result of that, God allowed me to find impact, mission to promote adoption of kids. So I started in the United States with a few families, and then I came over in 1999 and met with a very small couple of adoptive families. And I was wondering how to go about promoting adoption in Korea. And just God gave me an idea. Help people to open up their adoption, not hiding. Because in Korea, adoption is kind of like a shameful thing that you want to hide. You want to hide the fact that you couldn't bear a child. That's the social stigma that many Koreans have. Even nowadays, if a neighbor finds out that one of the next door neighbor has adopted a child, they pick up their entire assets, move on to another town, just to hide, to pretend. So the social stigma, even there are women who pretend to be pregnant by putting in cotton in the bosom and say to the neighbor, I'm going to go down to my goyang, hometown, give birth and come back. And when they come back with child in their arms, it's adopted. So the social stigma against adoption is so tremendous. That's what God gave me. This cannot be. I work with a few families who and encourage them to open up, share your story, share your adoption story. This is the way to promote adoption in Korea. And they listened to me, and they, one by one, they started to join our organization. And there were some families that were not able to have children. They even joined us and decided to adopt and also go on media. So for like the first 2 years, we had like 40 different episodes of TV coverages, newspapers, and this just blew up all over Korea. And then people began to see, wow, they're adopting. We can also adopt as well. so it's the powerful thing about open, transparent adoption is that it encourages other people to adopt. And that's what happened. So today, thousands of children have found homes because of this one little vision that God has given me. And I'm so grateful. And so from a broken family where my birth father was an alcoholic and his abusive behavior broke my family apart, and to being a homeless child living on the streets, and to grow up in an orphanage and live there for 8 long years, I really consider it a miracle to think where I am today. It really is. Can you imagine a little boy who lived under the bridge now has become a space scientist? And it's just, even I have a hard time, just doesn't absorb in my mind that well. And so I entered the Holt Orphanage by God's grace, the warm love of grandfather Harry Holt. And through adoption, I met my loving parents. And through their love and devotion, I was able to study hard and become a space engineer. Through God's grace, my pain and wounds were healed. And I was able to forgive my father and be able to love him. And after that, I was just free. I felt really free after that. So I don't know about your life. Do you have somebody that you need to forgive and forget? I hope that you'll find an encouraging message through my story. I was able to, above all, although I truly received Jesus in my heart at the orphanage at 9 with the simple faith of a child, that faith grew more increasingly and more mature and rapidly through God's preaching in my parents' lives. By God's grace, His blessing upon my life, He is using me as a vehicle to bring about positive changes in the Korean adoption culture and to reach out to many orphanages with greater education so they can emancipate or become adults that would be better prepared to face the society. So the question is, what kind of environment are you living in now? Are you suffering in an unwanted environment? Do you like where you are? No matter what the circumstances, we are all under God's control and protection and in His purpose. There's a saying that whatever you are is God's gift to you, but whatever you make of yourself is your gift to God. So you need to make a choice. You can complain, why God do I look like this? Do I have this kind of parent, family, or picture? Why am I so limited in what I want to do? You can complain to God, or you can say, God, I don't understand all these things, but I know that you love us, and I trust you, because all things work for good for those who trust in Him. I pray that, my message today will be of a great help to you, of hope and blessings, and will give you lots of energy. And I pray sincerely that through your lives, the light of Jesus will shine upon this community. What shall I give unto the Lord for all He has done for me? I have nothing to give other than to bear witness of His grace and love. Thank you very much. Let's pray.